All right, it is a Tuesday night at this end, and I thought I would spend some time tonight talking about one particular area of trading that I probably haven't spent much time talking about, at least from an in-depth perspective. Although certainly I've referenced in many of my pieces over the years the fact that most people that pursue this business ultimately fail and move on to something else. And I want to do this for a couple of reasons. And a very dear friend of mine that has just decided that at this point in his life, he hasn't crossed that line, and that he's actually going to be moving on to back into more of a corporate type position. Also received a very heartfelt email from somebody this evening that just really reinforced the fact that that this business is very challenging. One of the reasons that I teach is and do this very public blog is because I know what the odds are. In terms of the numbers, by the way, I know I've gotten some questions on this over the years. There have been various studies done in terms of how many people fail, how many people succeed. Depending upon the demographic that you're looking at and depending upon the particular study you're looking at. And there have been studies done on this, and they date back into the decades, several decades ago. The numbers vary anywhere from, as I've sometimes said, 90% plus to other studies that suggest it's closer to 70%. Regardless on which demographic you're looking at or which study you're looking at, the fact is that the vast majority of people that pursue this lose. And there's a continual churn in that large majority, whereas there's a smaller churn in obviously the percentage of people that have figured this out. But again, it's the majority. There have been studies on small business startups, entrepreneurial startups that talk about the fact that only almost two-thirds of small businesses barely make it through the first couple of years, and then fewer really succeed beyond that. So here you have a trading industry, so the odds are stacked against you there, and you've got a small business industry, and trading is certainly a small business, at least for many of us, and so it's sort of a double whammy in terms of stacking the deck really against you. One of the challenges I have, and I thought about this when I decided to get back into teaching last year, was the recognition that you're dealing with such dramatic odds. And I think those of us that have taken up the educational role in this industry, essentially what we're doing is we're really trying to increase the probability of success, and hopefully people that the idea being people that get a very solid education are going to make it over to that other side more times than not. So even if you can get a majority of people succeeding at this, you're already way ahead of people that in general, based on the overall population, take a shot at this and it doesn't work out. But we all know as educators, I think if you were to ask any of the legitimate folks in this industry, we recognize that it doesn't work out for everybody. And as my parents once told me, who have been in the educational industry for ages, and that used to eat me up. Years ago, 2001, 2002, when I was doing some of this, it really bothered me, and I really took it personally. But I realize again that my job with the educational hat is to basically try to provide the best foundation I can. And after that, it's really up to each individual participant, each individual student, as it would be with any program, in terms of whether they can make it or not. And I'll say this: although it's gotten easier for me over the years to recognize that aspect of kind of goes with the territory of teaching, it still hurts at times to see people give it their all, and to provide what you believe is as good a foundation as possible, and not make it. I'd be lying if I said that that it didn't bother me. But that unfortunately is the fact in this business. So does that mean that those of us who try and teach should stop doing it? No, that would just make things worse, or it just wouldn't be the right thing to do. But it's tough, and again, a good friend of mine that has basically decided that at this point in his life, he's got to return to the corporate world. And I have certainly been through phases in my life, as I've said publicly over the years, where I've had to go back and whether it was consulting in my former industry or find some other cash flow to sustain me, while I was going through certainly the early years in this business. It is always easier to succeed in this business if you have that supplemental income. It's the first jelly webinar. It's out there. It's just a fact. I've lived it. Spousal income, significant other income, part-time consulting. If you get good at this, teach. Rental income, investment income. I mean, all those income streams to help pay bills is huge. Absolutely huge. And although I don't have a specific study on this, I'll stand up and shout that you'll have a much better chance at succeeding if that's the case than if this is just your sole bread and butter. So for many of us, and by the way, you saw Robin's gracious offer hopefully earlier today, the post right before this. And while this certainly is a business for some of us in terms of teaching, there's also a side of it which hopefully comes through in this blog, which is we do what we can. I have in some cases been very giving in terms of providing some of these tools to people that under certain circumstances without ever expecting anything in return. And I don't say that to say, gee, look what Don did. I only say that because there are a lot of things that some of us do that you'll never see or never know about, and you never should know about it. And we do so because I think we realize that, again, the deck is perpetually stacked against everybody in this business. The hype and the marketing and the letters that I still get that say on the envelope, guaranteed $200,000 a year. There's no such thing. It's hard work, and not everybody's going to make it. And I don't mean to be saying this to depress everybody. It's just, I guess, my way of saying that if you don't make it, either now, maybe it's not your time. Maybe your time is later. Maybe God put you on this planet to pursue something else. Maybe you gave it your all. And if you did that, I think you have to be very satisfied that you did. I am aware of traders that have taken their life seriously because of failure in this business when they have been successful elsewhere. That is the ultimate price to pay and ultimate sadness in this industry. My ending message to everybody in this business, because there will be a time when I decide I can't do this anymore. Whether it's because of age or I mean, one of my biggest fears, not only from my health and family, but certainly from my trading perspective, is what happens if I get hit by a stroke or some disabling type deal where I can't trade anymore. But the fact is that maybe you have other skills. Maybe you have other skill sets. Maybe God put you on this planet to pursue something else. Maybe you gave it your all, and you've got to be satisfied with that. And we in the industry, in the educational side of the industry, will continue to do everything we can to try to help and to increase the odds. But again, I don't mean for this to be a sad post tonight. Let's continue to be excited about this. Let's continue to have that passion. But it's frankly an area of trading that I don't think we can ignore. And a couple of reminders for me at this end of this week. So have a great night, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.